Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Saira Mujtaba with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says infrastructure enhancement and structural reforms introduced by the government will make India a global hub of education. Prime Minister to deliver a virtual keynote address at Grand Challenges annual meeting this evening. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 88.26%. Today is the last date for withdrawal of candidature for second phase of assembly elections in Bihar. And in IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings to clash with Rajasthan Royals at Abu Dhabi today. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now, the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that infrastructure enhancement and structural reforms introduced by the government in the last 6 years has brought in transparency and autonomy in the institutions of higher learning in the country. Virtually addressing the centenary convocation of University of Mysore today, the Prime Minister said the qualitative and quantitative reforms carried out by the government will transform India into a global hub in the higher education sector and make our youth competitive, giving them an edge over others.
बीते 5-6 साल ये निरंतर प्रयास हुआ है कि हमारी शिक्षा, भारत का एजुकेशन सिस्टम छात्रों को 21वीं सदी की आवश्यकताओं के बीच आगे बढ़ने में भी और मदद करें। विशेष तौर पर हायर एजुकेशन में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के निर्माण से लेकर स्ट्रक्चरल रिफॉर्म्स पर बहुत ज्यादा फोकस किया गया है। भारत को हायर एजुकेशन का ग्लोबल हब बनाने के लिए, हमारे युवाओं को कॉम्पिटिटिव बनाने के लिए क्वालिटेटिव और क्वांटिटेटिव हर स्तर पर कोशिश की जा रही है.
He stressed that reforms have provided greater autonomy to educational institutions to take decisions according to their needs. This has improved transparency in medical education and a decision has been taken to appoint a National Medical Commission for this purpose. He said 2 new laws are being introduced for education in Indian medicine. Due to reforms, more seats in medical education are now possible. The Prime Minister said in the last 6 years, 6 new IITs, 16 triple ITs, 7 IIMs and 15 AIMs were sanctioned, thereby providing greater opportunities for the youth to pursue higher studies. Quoting the Kannada writer and thinker Gorur Ramaswamy Iyengar that education is a torchbearer for life, the Prime Minister said it is the focus of the government to make education useful for life skills. The new national education policy introduced recently will prepare talented youth to adapt to global challenges, enabling them to approach the nature of jobs with required skills.
नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी प्री नर्सरी से लेकर पीएचडी तक देश के पूरे एजुकेशन सेटअप में फंडामेंटल चेंजेस लाने वाला एक बहुत बड़ा अभियान है. हमारे देश के सामर्थ्यवान युवाओं को और ज्यादा कॉम्पिटिटिव बनाने के लिए मल्टी डायमेंशनल अप्रोच पर फोकस किया जा रहा है. कोशिश ये है कि हमारे युवा तेजी से बदलते नेचर ऑफ जॉब्स के लिए फ्लेक्सिबल हो, एडॉप्टेबल हो. स्किलिंग, रीस्किलिंग और अपस्किलिंग आज की सबसे बड़ी जरूरत है.
Recalling the words of erstwhile ruler of Mysore Nalwadi Krishnaraj Wadayar on the greater participation of girls in higher education, the Prime Minister said in the gross enrollment ratio in the area of studies related to innovation and technology, the girls have excelled over boys. He added that 4 years earlier, the enrollment of girls in IIT was 8% and today it is 20%.
आज यहाँ डिग्री लेने वाले विद्यार्थियों में बेटियों की संख्या बेटों से ज्यादा है. ये बदलते हुए भारत की एक और पहचान है. आज शिक्षा के हर स्तर पर देश में बेटियों का ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट रेशियो बेटों से ज्यादा है. हायर एजुकेशन में भी इनोवेशन और टेक्नोलॉजी से जुड़ी पढ़ाई में भी बेटियों की भागीदारी बढ़ी है.
Mr. Modi called upon youth to achieve excellence in their field of interest, asking them not to fit into a box. He said they have to learn from experience to think out of the box. The Prime Minister noted that India will become Atmanirbhar only when our youth become Atmanirbhar.
कोरोना के इस संकट काल में भी आपने देखा होगा कि कितने ही नए स्टार्टअप्स हमारे नौजवानों ने खोले हैं. ये स्टार्टअप्स कर्नाटका ही नहीं, देश की भी बहुत बड़ी ताकत है. मुझे विश्वास है असीम अवसरों की इस धरती पर आप अपने सामर्थ्य, अपनी प्रतिभा से देश के लिए बहुत कुछ करेंगे. आपका विकास सिर्फ आपका विकास नहीं होगा, देश का विकास होगा. आप आत्मनिर्भर बनेंगे तो देश भी आत्मनिर्भर बनेगा.
The new graduates who received the certificates today were greeted by the Prime Minister in Kannada, which elicited overwhelming response from the audience. The University of Mysore was established on the 27th of July 1916. It was the 6th university in the country and the first in the state of Karnataka.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will deliver the virtual keynote address at the inaugural function of Grand Challenges Annual Meeting or GCAM 2020 today. GCAM has fostered international innovation collaborations to address challenges in health and development for the last 15 years. The GCAM 2020 will bring together policymakers and scientific leaders, calling for deepened scientific collaborations in solving global health problems with great emphasis on COVID-19 with an India for the World framing. Co-chair of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill Gates will present the plenary framing conversation. Grand Challenges India was set up as a partnership between the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2012, and Wellcome also joined the partnership. Grand Challenges India works across a range of health and developmental priorities from agriculture, nutrition, sanitation, maternal and child health to infectious diseases. A report.
The 3-day brainstorming program will feature leaders' talks, panel discussions and virtual informal conversations on various topics. These topics will range from scientific interventions for fighting the pandemic, managing the pandemic, and accelerating the development and implementation of global solutions to combat it. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan will deliver the opening remarks. Approximately 1,600 people from 40 countries are expected to take part in this meeting. The GCAM 2020 will be co-hosted by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, the Indian Council of Medical Research and Niti Aayog, along with the Grand Challenges Canada, the United States Agency for International Development and Wellcome. With Anand Kumar, Suparna Sahikar, AIR News, Delhi.
In Bihar, today is the last date for withdrawal of candidature for the second phase of assembly elections in 94 constituencies. For polling to be held on the 3rd of November in this phase, 1,514 nomination papers have been found valid during scrutiny. For the third phase of elections in 78 constituencies, the nomination process has reached its last leg. The nomination process will come to an end tomorrow. Candidates of various parties are reaching their respective regional offices to submit their nomination papers. Meanwhile, the Rashtriya Lok Samata Party or RLSP has released its list of 25 candidates for the third phase. RLSP has formed a Grand Democratic Secular Front with BSP and 3 other parties. The RLSP has also declared Prem Kumar Chaudhary as party candidate for Valmiki Nagar Lok Sabha bypoll, which will simultaneously be held with the third phase of assembly elections. Meanwhile, in Bihar, campaigning is underway in full swing in poll-bound areas of first and second phase of state elections. Several senior leaders and star campaigners have hectic schedules and they are addressing public meetings. JDU President and CM Nitish Kumar addressed a public meeting at Sher Ghati. Mr. Kumar said it was the initiative of his government that women have got 33% reservation in Panchayati Raj institutions. Later in the day, JDU President will address public meetings in Rafiganj, Tikari, Hulasganj and Athri in support of NDA candidates. BJP senior leader Bhupendra Yadav and State Chief Sanjay Jaiswal are scheduled to address rallies in Raxaul, Bagaha and Darbhanga. Other opposition leaders also addressed public meetings. More from our correspondent.
The Chief Ministerial candidate of Grand Alliance and RJD leader Tejasvi Prasad Yadav will hold a series of public meetings in Gaya and Nawada districts. He is scheduled to address 7 public rallies today. Senior Congress leader and MP Akhilesh Prasad Singh said in Varsaliganj that the formation of Grand Alliance has the motto to bring back the grandeur of Bihar. CPIML General Secretary Dipankar Bhattacharya will address public meetings in Ghosi and Modanganj. RLSP and Jan Adhikar Party leader Upendra Kushwaha and Pappu Yadav are also addressing election rallies. Dharmendra Kumar Rai, AIR News, Patna.
In Gujarat, a total of 102 nominations were found valid after the scrutiny of nomination papers for the by-elections of 8 assembly seats. According to official sources, 33 nominations were rejected during the scrutiny. AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports that today is the last day for withdrawal of nomination papers.
The final picture of contesting candidates will become clear this evening after the last day of withdrawal of nomination papers. According to the Election Commission, the maximum 20 valid nominations have been found in Morbi Assembly constituency. Kaprada Assembly seat have minimum 4 valid candidates. Apart from ruling BJP and opposition Congress party, the smaller parties like Bahujan Mukti Party, Bharatiya Jan Parishad, Bahujan Maha Party, Vyavastha Parivartan Party, Yuva Jan Jagruti Party and Rashtravadi Jan Chetna Party have also fielded their candidates apart from large number of independents. The Bharatiya Tribal Party has also fielded their candidates from Karjan and Dang SC seats. All 5 Congress MLAs who joined BJP earlier this year after resigning as legislators have been fielded by the BJP from the Abadasa, Morbi, Dhari, Karjan and Kaprada Assembly seats, while 7 out of 8 Congress candidates are contesting for the first time. Polling will be held on 3rd November, while counting of votes will take place on 10th. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
Mumbai Metro has resumed its services today after being shut for nearly 7 months. However, trains are running with a limited number of passengers to maintain social distancing, and the number of services have been limited in the initial phase. The metro trains are plying on the entire route of the Ghatkopar-Versova line from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Only 360 people are allowed on the metro train per service, as against 1,350 people earlier, and only 200 services of trains will run, as against 400 services earlier. Senior citizens above the age of 65 and children below 10 years are advised to travel only if necessary. The entire metro staff is equipped with necessary safety gear and health desks. Health check-up kiosks have been set up at all entry points. Wearing of mask is mandatory while travelling. Metro has adopted a contactless ticketing system, and QR code-based tickets will be issued to commuters. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today said that capital expenditure capex by central public sector enterprises, CPSEs, is a critical driver of economic growth and needs to be scaled up for the financial years 2020-21 and 2021-22. She said this while addressing a video conference with secretaries of the Ministries of Petroleum and Natural Gas and Ministry of Coal, along with the CMDs of 14 CPSEs belonging to these ministries. The minister reviewed the capital expenditure of CPSEs in this financial year. Today was the 4th meeting in the ongoing series that the finance minister is having with various stakeholders to accelerate the economic growth in the background of COVID-19 pandemic. While reviewing the performance of CPSEs, the finance minister asked the concerned secretaries to closely monitor the performance of CPSEs in order to ensure the capital expenditure to the tune of 75% of the capital outlay by the end of the 3rd quarter of financial year 2020-21 and make appropriate plan for it.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says infrastructure enhancement and structural reforms introduced by the government will make India a global hub of education. Prime Minister to deliver virtual keynote address at Grand Challenges annual meeting this evening. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 88.26%. Today is the last date for withdrawal of candidature for second phase of assembly elections in Bihar. And in IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings to clash with Rajasthan Royals at Abu Dhabi today. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
अरे भाई सुना तुमने? अरे इस मुश्किल समय में सरकार ने हम कामगारों की मदद के लिए एक और बड़ा कदम उठाया है।
कौन सा कदम?
पात्रता के नियमों में छूट के साथ ESIC ने अटल बीमित व्यक्ति कल्याण योजना के तहत मिलने वाली राहत राशि को बढ़ाकर दुगना कर दिया है। हाँ
अच्छा, पात्रता की शर्तों को पूरा करने वाले जरूरतमंद बीमित व्यक्ति राहत के लिए ऑनलाइन दावा www.esic.in पर करें। अधिक जानकारी के लिए अपने नजदीकी ESIC शाखा कार्यालय से संपर्क करें या फिर टोल फ्री नंबर 1800-112526 पर कॉल करें।
देखिए फिल्म जगत के कई मशहूर कलाकारों के साथ भगवान श्री राम के जन्म स्थान अयोध्या से रामलीला DD नेशनल पर लाइव 17 से 25 अक्टूबर रोज शाम 7 बजे से रात 10 बजे तक और इसका पुनः प्रसारण 18 से 26 अक्टूबर DD भारती पर सुबह 9 बजे से दोपहर 12 बजे तक और दोपहर 3 बजे से शाम 6 बजे तक DD नेशनल पर।
The country has crossed another milestone in its fight against COVID-19. The national cumulative positivity rate has fallen under 8%. This trend has been sustained without a break continuously for 4 days. The cumulative positivity rate is 7.94% now and is steadily declining. The Health Ministry has said the decline in positivity rate has been brought about by high level of comprehensive countrywide testing. The total tests have crossed 9,50,000 today. Higher testing across wide regions has led to early identification of positive cases, prompt tracking through efficient surveillance and effective treatment in homes, COVID facilities and in hospitals. The Health Ministry stated that these measures have also led to lower fatality rate in the country. The country also continues to report a trend of steadily declining active cases for the third day after the active cases dropped below the 8 lakh mark. After a month and a half, the progressive decline continues. The number of active cases stands at nearly 7,72,000, which comprises merely 10.23% of the total positive cases in the country. The number of recovered cases so far have risen further to over 66,63,000, thereby enhancing the difference with respect to the active cases. Over 66,000 patients have recovered in the last 24 hours, whereas the new confirmed cases stand at 55,722. The national recovery rate has progressed to 88.26%. 579 COVID-related fatalities have been reported in the past 24 hours. The daily death toll due to COVID-19 has been recorded below 600 after a time span of nearly 3 months.
Nearly 8,60,000 COVID samples were tested in the country in the last 24 hours. With this, the cumulative testing figure has risen up to over 9,50,83,000. The central government and ICMR have scaled up the testing infrastructure in a calibrated manner. India's testing capacity has touched the 15 lakh per day mark, ensuring easily accessible COVID-19 tests for all. Starting from just one testing lab at National Institute of Virology, Pune, in January this year, the country today has 1,962 labs for testing COVID samples, which includes 1,117 government and 845 private labs. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan refuted the claim made by China that there was a simultaneous outbreak of coronavirus across the world. He cited lack of clinching evidence to support the argument. He was answering questions during his weekly public media interaction, Sunday Samvad, yesterday.
To validate this claim that there were multiple focal points across the world, I would like to make it clear that no such clinching evidence is as yet available regarding this. Therefore, the reported outbreak of COVID-19 from Wuhan in China has been recognized as the first report worldwide.
In response to a question on India's dependence on China for active pharmaceutical ingredients or APIs, the minister said that measures have been taken to make India self-reliant in the manufacturing of APIs.
In Punjab, government schools opened today for 9th to 12th class students. The study time has been fixed at 3 hours and online classes will also continue. Our correspondent reports the classrooms were sanitized before opening the schools and students were allowed to enter the school after thermal scanning at the entry gate. Sanitizing, wearing of mask and social distancing in classrooms have been made mandatory as per guidelines of the Health Department. Parents' consent is mandatory for students to attend the school. However, parents have been advised to send their wards to school keeping in mind their health and immunity. Schools in Sikkim have begun graded reopening from today after closing down in March 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Director of Elementary Education and Samagri Shiksha Bhim Thatal informed AIR that all schools will follow COVID-19 protocol while students' attendance will be voluntary and on the consent of parents.
In Sikkim, government schools have been functioning since 21st September with 50% teaching and non-teaching staff and students from classes 9th to 12th attending on a voluntary basis with the written consent of parents. Standard operating procedures prepared by the Education Department for safety, students and staff will guide school activities. Classes 9th to 12th will continue on a voluntary basis while classes 6th to 8th will resume on voluntary basis from 2nd November. Primary classes may start from 23rd November subject to the COVID-19 situation. Winter holidays have been done away with and classes will function on all working days and half days on Saturdays. All notified government holidays will be observed by the school. With Sahikar Parijat Sharma from Gangtok for AIR.
In Odisha, COVID-19 recovery has further increased to 2,46,837. As many as 2,610 patients recovered today and 1,982 fresh cases were reported. 17 more deaths were reported during the last 24 hours, taking the total fatalities to 1,152.
Though it's too early to foretell if the deadly SARS-CoV-2 virus is all set to make a turn around in the state, particularly in the face of an increasing anti-COVID architecture and awareness, yet at least this much is certain that the virus has continuously been sliding down for the last so many days. For the first time in over a month, the daily discovery of infection has slithered down below 2,000 as on today. Added to this is the clear margin by which COVID-19 recovery has been racing ahead of infection every day for quite some time now. The vanishing footprints of the virus is evident from the fact that as many as 26 districts out of 30 have reported cases below 100 today, which is a complete reversal of the situation the state was in not so long ago. Girish Chandra Das, Bhubaneswar.
Cricketer Suresh Raina has appealed to people to follow all COVID-related precautions to stay safe from coronavirus.
मेरी तरफ से सभी उन लोगों को एक हिदायत है कि प्लीज वेयर अ मास्क, मेंटेन द सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग, बी वाइज, बी सेल्फिश, आई वुड से, एट द सेम टाइम बी वेरी वेरी पॉजिटिव बिकॉज वर्क हार्ड, ट्राई टू डू लॉट ऑफ योगा, डू रनिंग। आप कोशिश करिए कि फैमिली के साथ टाइम स्पेंड करें। घर वापस आए तो आप सेफ रहें, आपके बच्चे हैं, आपके माता पिता हैं, तो मेरी सबको ये रिक्वेस्ट है कि प्लीज मेंटेन योर डिस्टेंस, डू सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग, लुक आफ्टर ईच एंड एवरीवन।
The News Services Division of All India Radio, in its bilingual live phone-in program, tonight will bring you a special discussion on COVID-19. Dr. Tanmay Talukdar, Professor and Head, Respiratory Diseases, Lady Hardinge Medical College, will participate in the discussion. Listeners can ask questions to the expert on toll-free telephone number 1800-115767. You can also ask questions on telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR. This can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. This program will also be available on our website newsonair.com and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates. This is All India Radio giving you the news.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं
Welcome back. Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar launched Ayushman Sahikar scheme today. The scheme is a unique way to assist cooperatives to play an important role in creation of healthcare infrastructure in the country. Ayushman Sahikar scheme has been formulated by the National Cooperative Development Corporation, NCDC. Mr. Tomar announced that NCDC would extend term loans to prospective cooperatives to the tune of 10,000 crore in the coming years. He said that the ongoing pandemic has brought into focus the requirement of creation of more facilities. NCDC's scheme will be a step towards strengthening farmers' welfare activities by the central government. BJP chief JP Nadda today warned party MLA who backed the accused in the Balia firing. Mr. Nadda has asked MLA Surendra Singh to stay away from the Balia firing incident probe. Mr. Nadda's warning came over the BJP MLA's statements regarding the firing incident in Balia district in Uttar Pradesh, in which he defended the accused. Our correspondent reports the BJP chief has also directed the UP party chief, Swatantra Dev Singh, to issue a show-cause notice to MLA Surendra Singh.
In Maharashtra, leaders from both ruling and opposition parties are visiting the rain-affected areas in the western parts of the state. Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray is on a visit to Sholapur district, whereas Nationalist Congress Party President Sharad Pawar is on a visit to Osmanabad. Leader of the opposition in Legislative Assembly, Devendra Fadnavis, has begun his 3-day visit to Pune, Sholapur and Osmanabad districts to assess the damage and losses caused by heavy rains. Our Mumbai correspondent has filed this report.
Expressing solidarity with the farmers who have been badly hit due to the torrential rains, leaders from all major political parties are touring districts which have been worst hit. Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray is on a visit to Sangvi village in Akkalkot Taluka in Solapur district. He took stock of the situation and interacted with affected farmers and promised them that they would be compensated by the government. He also told them that heavy rainfall warning has been issued for the next 2 days and hence asked them to take necessary precautions. NCP President Sharad Pawar equated the current emerging crisis due to the incessant rains to the 1993 earthquake, which was among the deadliest one that hit Osmanabad. BJP leader Devendra Fadnavis said state government should tell about the steps they are going to take to provide relief to the farmers. Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
Foreign Minister of Bangladesh, A.K. Abdul Momen, has said Bangladesh has invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi to join the celebrations of the 50 years of the country's independence on March the 26th next year. Dr. Abdul Momen disclosed this when the newly appointed High Commissioner of India, Vikram Doraiswamy, made a courtesy call on him in Dhaka. Dr. Momen said Bangladesh and India will celebrate Bangladesh's 50 years of independence together next year. He hoped that Prime Minister Modi will join the celebrations in Dhaka. A virtual meeting between the Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh is also likely to take place later this year. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi was scheduled to visit Bangladesh to join in the birth centenary celebrations of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The visit was later cancelled due to the ongoing pandemic. In IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings will clash with Rajasthan Royals at Abu Dhabi today. Kings 11 Punjab triumphed over Mumbai Indians in a thrilling second super over after both the match and the first super over were tied for the first time in the tournament's history in Dubai last night. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. In national capital Delhi, minimum temperature was 16 degrees Celsius, maximum will be around 34 degrees. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Jammu would have a minimum temperature was 16 degrees Celsius, maximum will be 33. City will have a mainly clear sky. Temperature in Srinagar will hover between 4 and 25 degrees Celsius. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says infrastructure enhancement and structural reforms introduced by government will make India a global hub of education. Prime Minister to deliver virtual keynote address at Grand Challenges annual meeting this evening. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 88.26%. Today is the last date for withdrawal of candidature for second phase of assembly elections in Bihar. And in IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings to clash with Rajasthan Royals at Abu Dhabi today. And with that, we end the midday news.